When you think about the Titanic, what comes to mind? Probably either the movie, the sinking, or maybe even the Titanic itself. But there is way more than just that to know about the Titanic. The discovery of the wreckage has changed a lot about how we thought it sank. The Titanic is the most famous ship in the world. It is mostly famous for sinking because it was supposed to be unsinkable, and the one-way trip that it took. Many people died, which was a tragedy, and many people were very traumatized and scared when they survived. The ship was huge and people couldn't believe that it sank. Just after midnight on September 1st, 1985, 73 years after the Titanic sank, scientists aboard Noor, the ship searching for the Titanic at the time, spotted a wreckage of a boiler on the ship's motors. Then suddenly the Titanic's large hull came into view. Bob Ballard, the captain of Noor, and his crew were overjoyed to have found it. They were celebrating until they realized that they were celebrating over thousands of people's graves. This changed their mood, so they quickly packed up their stuff and left. Ballard and his crew unfortunately had to come back empty-handed because the Titanic was already perfectly preserved in the water. If they would have lifted it above the water and tried to take it out, then it probably would have crumpled and little parts of it would fall into the ocean. Bob Ballard actually wasn't the first person to discover the Titanic. He just took credit for it. The location was actually discovered by a team of Franco-Americans who were researching the topic of the Titanic at the time. Down deep under the ocean where the Titanic rests, you might think that all the valuables and items that went down with the ship when it was sinking might have floated away, right? Wrong. Many items are still there today. One of the biggest discoveries that has been made since the wreckage has been found is that the many parts of the Titanic are crumbling off and floating away into the ocean. This is a cause of concern and possibly pollution. Many marine animals could find a particle of the Titanic floating in the ocean, and if they ate it, they could possibly die. Many things were also found during the 1993 expedition. Things such as plates, silverware, gold watches, and money were found. The ship also took more than 2 hours to sink, even though it was very large. The explorers also soon after found that less than 25% of the crew and maintenance survived. This proves that they were less of a priority than the other class members on the Titanic. People were very shocked at the Titanic sinking. Some people even thought it was a joke because they were so surprised. People knew that there was an iceberg ahead of the Titanic, but when they tried contacting the Titanic, nobody responded. This could have been bad weather conditions so that the radio cut off. People also think that the Titanic was set up. For example, when nobody responded, when people contacted the Titanic radio, people believe that it was either bad weather conditions so that the radio got cut off, or it could have been that nobody responded on purpose. Also, when a ship or a boat encounters an iceberg, they would usually have to slow down so that they can make a successful turn around the iceberg. But unlike those other boats, the Titanic sped up. This led to a fatal wrong turn and the sinking of the Titanic. Many people think that someone might have purposely sped up the boat because they wanted it to sink. Over 1,000 people died on the Titanic. It is one of the worst maritime tragedies of all time. Many people only think about the sinking whenever the Titanic gets mentioned, but the discovery of the wreckage has changed the way we thought it sank a lot. This was a really sad moment in history, and hopefully it will be remembered for a very long time. For more information, go to my blog.